Jesus made it plain that John the Baptist was the very Elijah whom the people were so anxiously waiting for. While on the contrary, John the Baptist himself flatly negated this claim. Are the Jewish people going to believe Jesus or John? This obviously depended on who appeared more credible and respectable. Let's examine how Jesus must have appeared to the Jewish people. He was an uneducated young man who grew up in a poor and lowly home of a carpenter. This unknown young man suddenly appeared and called himself the Lord of the Sabbath, while apparently defiling the Sabbath. So Jesus gained the reputation of the one who wanted to abolish the law, which for the Jews was the basis of salvation.
You kiss your mother with that mouth?
Therefore, the leaders of the Jewish community persecuted Jesus. So he was compelled to gather disciples from among simple fishermen to befriend tax collectors, prostitutes, and sinners. Moreover, Jesus seemed to place himself on an equal footing with God and asserted that no one could enter God's kingdom except through him. So from all this, we can gather that Jesus was far from credible in the eyes of the Jewish people at the time. So how was John the Baptist viewed? Well, he was born into a prominent family. He was the son of Zechariah the priest. The miracles and signs surrounding John's conception and birth surprised all the hill country of Judea. One day, when Zechariah was burning incense in the temple, an angel appeared before him and announced that him and his wife would soon conceive a son. So under these circumstances, who appeared more credible? Without a doubt, John's words had more credibility. Naturally, they believed John the Baptist when he denied being Elijah. Since the people believed John, they considered Jesus' words to be a fabrication, and so he was viewed as an impostor. The people's disbelief in him intensified daily. They found his deeds and words more and more offensive. As long as the Jewish people kept their faith in the prophecy of Malachi, they had to reject Jesus, because it said that Elijah has to come before the Messiah, and from their viewpoint, Elijah hadn't come yet. So the Jewish people couldn't believe in Jesus without denying a biblical prophecy. Many among the Jewish leadership and the people of Jesus' day had the highest respect for John the Baptist. Some even thought of him as the Messiah. Had John the Baptist announced that he was Elijah, giving credit to Jesus, those who were eagerly waiting for the Messiah would have readily believed John's testimony and flocked to Jesus. But John was ignorant of God's providence and led him to insist that he was not Elijah. And that became the principal reason why the Jewish people didn't go to Jesus. God had already directly revealed to John that Jesus was the Messiah. He, more than anyone, should have served Jesus with ardent devotion as a disciple for the rest of his life. John should have realized through his own wisdom that he was the returning Elijah. However, again, he was ignorant of God's will. He negated Jesus' testimony. He separated from Jesus and went his own way. So it's no wonder that the leaders and people were confused to the point where they thought John was the Messiah.
Hey, what happened?
We can also discern from John's statement, "He must increase, but I must decrease," that in his heart, John didn't regard himself as sharing the same destiny as Jesus. His life, which was meant to be offered for Jesus' sake, was eventually lost. Since Jesus came to establish the kingdom of heaven on earth, he was more in need of one leader who could guide thousands than 1,000 who would follow a leader. Didn't he first preach the gospel to the priests and the scribes in the temple? He went there in search of prepared and capable people, but they didn't want to go to him. Blessed is he who takes no offense at me. Jesus judged John's life by obliquely saying that one who took offense at him would not be blessed. John took offense to this and thus failed his mission.
I'm about to end this man's whole career.
Truly I say to you, among those born of women, there has risen no one greater than John the Baptist. Yet he who is least in the kingdom of heaven is greater than he. If testifying to the Messiah was the main mission of the prophets, then yes, John the Baptist was surely the greatest of prophets. Nevertheless, in terms of attending the Messiah, he was the least of all. Had John attended Jesus, he would have been in the position of the chief disciple, but instead that was passed on to Peter, who was a forceful man. Had John acted wisely, he wouldn't have left Jesus. But he was foolish. He blocked the Jewish people's path to Jesus as well as his own. We have to understand that John the Baptist's failure led Jesus to the cross. As recorded in the Bible, he was born with the mission to go before the Lord, in the spirit and power of Elijah, to turn the hearts of the fathers to the children, the disobedient to the wisdom of the just, to make ready for the Lord a people prepared. So in terms of his mission, John was the second coming of Elijah. We've all been reading the Bible based on the unquestioned belief that John the Baptist was a great prophet. Our new insight to John the Baptist teaches us that we should dispense with the conservative attitude of faith, which makes us afraid to question conventional beliefs and traditional doctrines. Even though our discussion of John the Baptist has been based on an examination of the Bible, those who are able to communicate spiritually, like Reverend Moon, can see the condition of John the Baptist and confirm that this revelation about John is entirely true. Everything you've heard in this video was straight out of the Exposition of the Divine Principle. If you enjoyed this video and want to learn more about the hidden truths in the Bible through a deeper spiritual lens, like, share, and subscribe. That tells me you want more.